Welcome to Mainland Television News, your local regional television station, coming to you from the Nelson and Tasman region. Nelson teacher downloads objectionable material, missing woman found, and fire severely damages plant at King Salmon. A woman tramper who became separated from her companions in Kahurangi National Park on Sunday has been located. 35-year-old Siobhan Flynn, originally from Strandhill, Sligo in Ireland, was with a group of 5 who had entered the area from Mount Arthur. The group stayed Saturday night at Salisbury Hut before departing for Karamea Bend on Sunday morning. Along the way, the group became separated. 4 members made it to Karamea Bend, but Ms Flynn never arrived. The group stayed Sunday night at Karamea Bend before one tramped back out via Mount Arthur looking for Ms Flynn over Monday night and raised the alarm on Tuesday afternoon. And on Tuesday night, Ms Flynn arrived at a friend's house in Nelson with an American woman who had assisted her after she'd suffered a fall and became lost. She told police that on Sunday, while walking alone, she fell off a ledge and believed she lay unconscious for several hours. When she regained consciousness, she managed to climb back up on the ledge, but was disoriented and unable to continue far due to darkness. She said she spent that night huddled under trees. She put on all her clothing and got inside her sleeping bag to keep warm. Ms Flynn has little recollection of Monday, however she believes she made it to Mitten Hut, where she rested for a while, replenished her water and decided to continue on. She reached what she believed to be Tribolite Hut about 3 a.m. on Tuesday. Sleeping inside the hut was a lone woman tramper who was a doctor from the United States. Ms Flynn said the doctor, an experienced mountaineer, treated her for mild hypothermia and inspected her head injury. The pair then walked out of the area together via the Cobb Valley and then hitchhiked to Nelson. Police Search and Rescue Coordinator Constable Malcolm York says Ms Flynn was extremely lucky to have survived and to have come across the doctor. A 50-year-old Nelson schoolteacher has on Tuesday this week pleaded guilty in the Nelson District Court to multiple charges of possessing objectionable material and making objectionable material. Stuart McGowan also admitted to photoshopping the faces of male students onto pornographic images as well as downloading images of foreign children. A police investigation which started in September last year discovered hundreds of images of young naked men and children. Judge Tony Zorab suppressed the name of the school McGowan taught at. Stuart McGowan was remanded on bail to the Nelson District Court, with his case set to be heard again on January the 20th. New Zealand King Salmon has had to organise alternative options for its production after one of its plants was severely damaged by fire on Monday night. Fortunately, no one was injured when the hot smoking plant at Rotherham Street caught fire, which is understood to have started in one of its kilns at around 8:30 p.m. 5 appliances and crews attended the blaze. It's understood to be the second fire at the plant in over 2 years. A fundraising dinner has been organised by the Nelson Tasman Filipino community in response to the catastrophic typhoon which has ravaged their home country. There are around 300 Filipinos living in the region, and it's understood all of their relatives are safe. To aid the situation, the Nelson Tasman Filipino Community Incorporated has decided to hold a Care to Share dinner to be held at St Mary's Hall in Manuka Street on December 7th, which will include Filipino food, entertainment and a silent auction. Tickets to the dinner are $30 an adult, $10 per child, and under 5s are free. You can contact the organisers of the dinner on Facebook on their Care to Share New Zealand page, or you can phone 021 0277 8404. The median sales price for homes in Nelson, Tasman is showing no signs of slowing down. Latest figures from REINZ for October 2013 shows the median price for homes in Nelson City rose $9,000 from $357,000 in September to $363,000 last month. The median price for Richmond homes was $402,000 in October, and in Motueka it was $395,000. Compared to September this year, sales in Nelson rose by over 20%, but fell elsewhere across the wider region of Tasman and Marlborough. The number of days to sell improved by 7 days compared to September, from 35 days in September to 28 days in October. REINZ Chief Executive Helen O'Sullivan noted there has been a tapering off in the number of first home buyers in the market as a result of the new LVR restrictions, although open homes have been well attended. She says new listings have been rising as expected and the market sentiment remains positive. She says the median price trend continues to improve. And during Winston Peters' visit to Nelson recently, I asked him his opinion on recent changes to Reserve Bank lending.
The loans to value ratio which the Reserve Bank has imposed is the worst possible policy. Who's it hitting? The very person that we all say we're trying to help, the first home buyer, the person trying to get on the first rung of home ownership, of the home ownership ladder. So why would you employ that policy? That policy actually is a great assistance to the wealthy land owning and house renting class, and a lot of those people are foreign owners, parked up in Beijing, parked up in the UK and other parts of the world, owning countless homes in New Zealand because they can borrow at 1% and outcompete any buyer in New Zealand, and then they're renting it. It's a great real estate lurk for them, and the Reserve Bank governor, and I believe this government in their naivety, have gone right along with it. Now, you'll have noticed just the other day, John Key made a speech about saying how he almost persuaded the Reserve Bank governor to do something. But he drew back because he wanted to recognise the Reserve Bank governor's independence. What on earth does he mean by that? Either the policy is good or it's bad. And if it's bad, then the government's job is to point out to the Reserve Bank governor, which he legally can do. It's not prohibited in the law. It happens in the UK, where the Chancellor of the Exchequer, that's the Minister of Finance, writes to the Governor of the Bank of England and says, I think so-and-so. Why aren't we doing that? But this hands-off approach, where the elected politicians do nothing, is not adding to the financial wealth of our country, but the very reverse.
World Diabetes Day is being celebrated on Thursday the 14th of November, and as part of that, Nelson City Council is turning the Nelson Cathedral and Trafalgar Bridge blue. Steph Mills was in our studio this week talking to Chrissy Small about diabetes and the event that the Nelson Diabetes Youth Organisation have planned for the public this weekend.
Steph, how did you become involved with diabetes?
About 8 years ago, my son was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, and so that's how I've become involved, and now I'm the Secretary of Diabetes Youth Nelson.
Now, what were the symptoms that first alerted you to the fact?
For my son, he lost a lot of weight. He became very thirsty all the time, quite lethargic, and just not really himself anymore. So we just took him to the doctor to get a few tests done, and it came back that he had type 1 diabetes. So trip up to the hospital.
Right. And this, of course, means that he's insulin dependent?
Yes, he is. Yep, he's insulin dependent, and he's now on an insulin pump, but originally he was diagnosed, when he was diagnosed, he had injections every day, probably about 6 injections a day, and he has probably up to 10 finger pricks a day, which he still has, but now he's on an insulin pump, which means that's just a wee site that we change twice a week, and that gives him his insulin all the time now.
So this is a lifetime thing he's going to have to cope with?
Yep, no, unless they find a cure, which there are a lot of people doing research out there on type 1 diabetes, but hopefully in his lifetime there might be a cure, but otherwise no, it's a lifetime for him.
So type 2 diabetes is another form of diabetes, of course, and there are many who suffer from it. What are the symptoms?
Type 2 diabetes can be a hereditary thing. It can be in your family. You can it can be caused by your lifestyle and not so much not doing enough exercise and just different things like that.
Right. So it's kind of some of the foods you eat, if you eat a lot of sugars and fats.
Yeah, it can be that, and also high cholesterol and high blood pressure can be signs of your disposed to type 2 diabetes.
Now this type 2 is curable by change of lifestyle.
It is curable by change of lifestyle, helping yourself out by eating the right foods, getting a bit of exercise. Might not be completely curable, but you can help yourself out quite a bit with things you do in your life.
Right. So this week is the Awareness Week.
Yes.
But there's an event coming up on the weekend. Can
Yes.
you tell us something about it and where it is, what date?
Yep. It's the Big Diabetes Day Out, and that's on Sunday the 17th of November, and we're having it at the Hope Community Hall in Domain out in Hope, and that runs from 1 till 5 p.m.
Now, there'll be lots of activities.
Yes, we've got workshops running all afternoon for people to come along and listen to. You can come out at any time during the day. There'll be a specialist from the hospital there. There'll be blood pressure checks, cholesterol checks. There'll be things for the kids as well going on. We've got bouncy castles and face painters, and just a few activities running. We'll have someone out there playing a few games with the children, and yeah, just a family day out.
So anyone that's concerned that they may be suffering the first stages of diabetes
Yes.
2, or they may have someone in the family who could be showing symptoms of diabetes 1,
Yep.
this would be a great event for them to go to.
Absolutely, yep. It was a great afternoon for them to come along to. We'll have diabetes nurses there that can guide you and help you out with anything you need.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Stephanie, thank you very much for coming into the studio today and for enlightening us about what's going on and the week that we have happening nationally in New Zealand.
Great, thank you.
Please note the Big Diabetes Day is on Sunday the 17th of November 2013 from 1 to 5 p.m. at the Hope Hall and Domain. After the break, we'll bring you the latest weather update and some events and happenings coming up from around the region.